Hello, class. I hope everything's going well. I just wanted to give you kind of an overview of Lesson 5 coming up in Week 3. We're going to be starting to talk about the logical structure of arguments this week, and you're actually going to create what's called a grid map of the logical arguments in one of the articles. Um, and just before we go through that, I wanted to talk a little bit about logic. This is something that we're going to talk about quite a bit, especially in the first part of the course. And then you'll be using logic as you're writing your later papers. And so, um, you know, logic is something that we use a lot. If you've been a missionary, you use logic when you were teaching people. If you're giving a talk in church, you use logic in that talk in church. It's using reasoning to back up a claim or an argument. And one of the greatest examples I think of using logic in a talk is Elder Oaks. If you listen to any of his talks, they're very logically based. Reason, build upon reason, build upon reason to get to his ultimate conclusion. And it's important to note that the Lord also uses logic. His prophets use logic. Some of the best examples of that I can think of are in the Book of Mormon in 2nd Nephi 9 when Lehi is speaking to his children and his grandchildren and is teaching them about the plan of salvation. And he uses a very logical argument to of reasons that build one upon the other to reach his conclusion about God's love for us, his mercy for us, and his ultimate plan for us. Another example of that is found in Alma chapter 30, when Alma is having an argument with Korihor, again about the plan of salvation and about the gospel of Jesus Christ. And if you read that chapter as well, you'll see that Alma's arguments to Korihor are very logically based. One reason building upon another reason. And so that's something to look for in any kind of argument piece, is that reasoning building upon one reason building upon another. Later on in the lessons this week, in lesson 7, you'll read a short piece of an argument by Elder Bednar, where he's again using logic and analysis to build one idea upon another to reach a conclusion. But let's go on and talk about what you'll need to do for lesson 5, which is due on Tuesday. If we go to the overview page, yeah, and we can get into what's going on. And so first is the reading assignment, and we're going to be reading a short article by Neil Postman called Amusing Ourselves to Death. Now, Postman actually gave this as a speech at a convention in 1984. So, it's several decades old. But as you read it, I'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings about that and how it relates to us today, even though it was given, over 3 decades ago. And so we'll be reading that, and with that reading, you'll also be doing what is called a logical mapping or argument grid. And so in this, what you're going to be doing is, all of these portions are easy to fill out, but you're going to state what Postman's issue question is. What is the question that he's trying to answer in this article? And then what the conclusion is. What is he arguing? So, for example, his issue question might be, are we allowing technology to rule over us? That might be the issue question. And then what is his conclusion? That would be what he's arguing. So either he's arguing that it isn't, or he's arguing that it is. And then you'll go through and give the reasons why. And these are the only portions that we're going to fill out at this point. Are the issue question, the conclusion, and then the reasons why. And as you go through this, we're going to limit that to 4 to 5 different reasons or supporting claims of what he's his evidence that is proving his point. And so some things to keep in mind as we go through this lesson is number 1, on the issue question. This is the major question that the author's trying to answer, and you need to condense this down to one sentence. It should just be one question, and it needs to be related to the claim that the author is making. And then when you write down the author's claim, that should be directly related back to this issue question. And often you'll have to infer it. And so looking at Postman isn't going to come out and bluntly say, is technology taking over? So this is something you have to infer, and you've got to find evidences of it within the article. And most often in an argument piece like this one of Postman, that in the first third of that paper, you're going to be able to know what he's arguing, what issue question he's asking. And then go back, and then the next thing is the claim or the conclusion that the author comes to in the article. And again, that needs to be just one sentence, and it answers the issue question. And in this, you don't need to include any reasons that the author has in this statement. It's just the ultimate conclusion that the author comes to. It needs to be in your own words and not a direct quote, but a paraphrase of the author. And then next you'll go to the reasons, and again you'll just do 4 or 5 of these. Each one of them just needs to be one sentence. One way to come up with a good reason is to think because before each one of those. And so if we go back to Postman and talking about him, if we say that he's arguing that technology is taking over our lives, then because, and then give the reason why, and paraphrase these reasons in your own words. This, you're probably going to have to read this carefully and closely, and you may have to go back and reread it to find some of these reasons. And remember that you need to use inference. We talked about inference last week to make a connection to the main claim. And then I'll let you read through this next section, but this is learning how to paraphrase correctly and do a paraphrase. And so that is the writing portion of this lesson. And then from there, you'll just go on to submit. Here's instructions to submit, and then to submit the mapping, which is very easy. Go to the upload page, and then the submission of your lesson assignment. I'll create another video for the next lesson as we're going through the logical portions of an argument. And if you have questions about this or anything else that we've gone over, please feel free to contact me. I'm always available to answer questions or help meet your concerns. And I look forward to a great week with you. Thank you.